started. Okay, thank you all for attending, and a very warm welcome to you all. As usual, I will introduce ourselves. I'm, of course, the chairman, Bruce Russell, Kelvin Payne, Councillor Glidden, John Very, Deputy Chair, and Sian Yoon, and of course, the lifeblood of the Community Board, Therese. Thank you. But I do welcome you all. To you, our staff member, and I find you.
You are away.
You are away. I beg your pardon. You are away here. I welcome you in particular. Right. Oh, I beg your pardon. Sarah is going to be online with the financial side of it. So, Sarah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if we've got people coming in online, is it possible for them to have their visual on?
When Sarah presents, can she put the camera on? And I'm sure that's what Sarah intends to do. She's just not online. It's not on the item yet.
Okay, thank you, John. Call for apologies. We have one from Phil Freeman. Is somebody prepared that we accept that? Thank you, John. Seconded, Sian. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Are there any identifications of extraordinary business that anybody wants to add to the agenda?
No, I think I can cover it within the
within your report.
Within the items.
Okay,
report.
thank you, John. Okay, conflicts of interest. Does anybody wishes to advise of any conflicts? Thank you. Right. Okay, so we'll move on to correspondence. To raise.
None received.
Okay. We'll move then to the public forum. Peter Snook. If you take your position down there, Peter, thank you.
That one. Yep. Right. The issues I have stem back from last year when I raised the issue on the contractors concerning the Toby boxes when Sharon Mason was here. The photographs that I've sent round the table are the issues I want to raise, that the job's never been finished properly. I'm sure that if the shingle was left like that and it was in Rolleston or outside Sam Broughton's place, they'd fill it with grass, with dirt and grass over it, like Cord do when they do road works. I said, it's still a disappointment from the point of view we're trying to cut the grass and do a nice job when it's left like that. To me, it's a waste of funds when obviously the contractors have been paid out as the job's finished. It isn't finished, as you can see. And on that note, where there's some issues over at the domain with contractors having done work there 12, 18 months ago that I'd seen snaps and solved things about it with photographs, and now they're having to reinstate new contractors to upgrade and finish those jobs off that weren't completed properly. So I don't know if the issue's in the contract itself, how it's written that, or whether they're paid out before the job is completely finished off. So yeah, I've had my say. I just letting you know that what's happening in the domain is pretty proactive at the moment, and really good vibes going on over there preparing for what's going to happen in the future. On a note, what I push for is the issues in the river, and with the snaps and solves I've sent, ECAN is fair on the case now concerning the rubbish dump there being washed out in the past, and putting big cubic metre concrete blocks in there and sorting that out. So I've got a meeting with them tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, really happy about what's happening, rule of thumb. So thanks very much everyone for listening. That's- Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you for bringing these to our attention.
Yep.
Is there any questions from any of the members? John? No, okay. Anybody want to ask any questions of Peter? All I can say is Peter, just keep up the good work.
Yep. Thanks very, very much for your help.
I'm sorry, when I introduced everybody too, I do apologise. Denise is stepping in for Steve today, and I thank her for that. Steve is currently at other meetings, and so he asked me to just make it known he will be giving a report which will be done by Denise. Right, well,
Mr. Chair,
John,
can I request that the photograph that was provided be included with the minutes of this meeting, please?
what's the photograph?
Photos provided by Pets.
Oh, I beg your pardon, by Peter. I beg your pardon, Peter. Okay, yes, certainly, certainly. Right, can we move on to item 5, the confirmation of the minutes? Somebody prepared to move that they be signed as a true and accurate record. Thank you, Sean. John, seconder?
I was going to say that I have a couple of...
No, if I get the motion before us, then we can discuss it.
No.
So, you second it? Right. Okay, they're open for discussion. John,
On page
put your
5
red light on, please.
Apologies, everybody. On page 5, the chair of the Darfield Residents Association raised the option of the board being proactive in relation to the sewage connection. And I know this is intermingled with the local water done well. However, I would like to ask the board to consider that we put an action point and we actually do progress the developing consultation engagement with the community in Darfield and Kerwee, and then come back to a meeting in the not too far distant future, so that we're actually aware of what residents want rather than being on the back foot and waiting for council to tell us what's going to happen.
Any further? I know I would agree with that because obviously, particularly in Darfield, with some of the photos that have been taken over the last rain, it's in my humble opinion probably deteriorated. We're getting a lot more water than what is happening. So, John, you want to put a motion towards that this be brought up, and we look at some answers prior to our next meeting.
I was just wondering if that's part of the minutes. You're raising an item from the previous minutes. Is that affecting your ability to accept these minutes as an accurate record? Are you saying that's not happened?
Or do you want to
have a different motion?
Yeah, but he could add to those to the minutes.
I suppose my point is that I'm trying to get us on track.
Yes.
So that when things happen, it's not just recorded in the minutes or an action point, that we actually get some traction now.
Yeah.
So I'll move that the board work towards developing a plan to consult with the community in the main Darfield and Kerwee to ascertain their views of what should happen in relation to connecting to the sewage pipeline.
Okay, is there a seconder there at this stage? Lydia, you've got your on. Do you want to make a comment prior to that?
It wasn't necessarily on that. I had my own addition to the minutes.
Well, what we're doing, we're basically amending the minutes as to what is actually recorded here. And John is looking for some action rather than just what was actually recorded in the minutes. And he's putting a motion forward now that we want some...
To change the minutes.
Yeah, to change the minutes and add something that was perhaps the origin of what it was brought up originally in the minutes for.
I guess I'm thinking of this as a technicality and thinking that, is that just something that needs to be added to the action table to inform staff to give direction to bring this information?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of information around the septic tanks and consenting that we need from ECAN to allow you to do consultation to be able to give all the right information. Is that what you're asking for? So that you're provided with all the right information so that you can engage with your community to give them their thoughts? Or are you looking to add a motion to the minutes from the last meeting?
It's an amendment to the minutes. That's what we've actually got on the table currently.
My recollection, and remember I'm dated, is that when the president of the Darfield Residents Association raised the matter, there was general discussion, and I know there was no motion, but I believe there was a consensus that the board would take some action independent of the council. And my hobby horse, shall we say, is I'm keen on the board taking the initiative rather than waiting for reports from the council.
So if we haven't got a seconder to the motion, pardon? Yeah, if we haven't got a seconder, it actually lapses at the present time.
Potentially I've missed something because I wasn't at one of our interim meetings. I do recall that conversation being had, John. I'm just not sure where this has come from. That's all. I don't know where this has come out of, because I'm pretty sure that the council have been very open about when or how the Kiwi and Darfield connection system will look like. So I just don't know where this has come off the back from.
My understanding is it came from the president of the Darfield Residents Association when he spoke at the previous meeting. And I'm quite happy for the motion to lapse with no seconder, but I would ask that it be recorded and noted that there was no seconder.
I could second it, and perhaps I should have done this right from the start, on a pro forma basis, which would allow for the discussion that we're actually having now. So if you take that, I'll second it on a pro forma, so that then it can be officially recorded in the minutes. If it's voted on and agreed to, that's part of the motion. If it's not, it will lapse. So I'm prepared to second it. So if there's any further discussion on that. Lydia.
So I need to be clear of what we're looking at, because I look at Mr. Polglaze's presentation in public forum, and there was something that I saw missing off there as an action. And I see that I'm trying to get that the minutes are a true and accurate record of the discussion that was had. And so Harvey has asked for leadership from the board in terms of sewage in Darfield and Kiwi. He asked for a policy as to how people should connect to the pipeline or not. And this should be communicated with the community and consulted on. So, and then I note that in the action table, there is some action there around the sewage. So can you please tell me what it is you wanted to add to that to make it clear, to give the board direction? Because I don't think you need a motion to go and talk with the community about the sewage, but if you feel differently, then I'm very happy to hear that.
I think what, the chairman of the Darfield residents has been concerned all along. The Darfield people were rated for the sewerage initially to look into it, etc., etc. That has now been completed. The sewerage is actually installed. Whether it's working or not at this stage, sewage is actually flowing from here to Pines, I can't answer that question, because as I understand, it's not an operation. But what Harvey was saying is there was a certain amount of money left over. Why are we still being rated? And then we're going to be forced to connect. So I think the thing is that there's relevant points there, Lydia, as I see.
And I definitely agree that there needs to be some better communication with Darfield and Kirwi around what
Correct.
it looks like, how it works, where is the priority plan,
Yes,
and the connections, how it's connected, what the cost is,
right.
and the why. And the why is around Environment Canterbury and discharge consent. So for some people that are on older consents to discharge effluent to ground, I think you'll find that they won't be renewed. And so
No,
I
that's
think
correct.
the council is currently waiting on Environment Canterbury to survey the community
Yeah.
and see where the priority actually is, which I would say will be the old part of Darfield first, which are old boulder hole style discharge systems before anything else.
Yeah.
But I know that there has been some planning done around.
But I think it's just to be fair, Lydia, I think the community wants perhaps a little bit more guidance as to when and where it's going to happen. We had a similar problem when West Melton first connected, because we still had people whose septic tanks were working very efficiently. But then they said, well, sorry, you now have to connect. And so the connection fee in those days was about 17,000. And so I think the thing is, though, that if you want your way, do you want to make a comment on this? I just see you sitting forward. Is it something that you want to? No, that's okay. That's all right. I just saw you step forward, Sean.
Would it be possible to maybe add action points then that when we receive the report from council in regards to the Darfield and Kirwi connections or the waste plan, if they could maybe present to us as well and answer some of the questions that have been had, and then people from the public can attend.
You want to add to that, Lydia?
Well, I'd like to sort of ask the question of John to clarify for his motion of what in Harvey's public forum speech and in the action table isn't adequate enough. What would you like to add to that?
I suppose going back to a global level, that to my view, in discussing the issue with various people in the Hawkins subdivision, which it affects, that to actually see an action point that X is to advise is so nebulous and so intangible. And as you'll hear from me again, unfortunately, when we get to the water at Springfield, I just am frustrated at fronting up to people and them legitimately saying to me, well, look, nothing happens. And I go,
well, I don't think you should bring Springfield into that, because Springfield now, they've got actions already stipulated as what's happening. So I have some concern with what Harvey's perhaps not getting some of the answers as quickly as what perhaps the Darfield people are wanting.
With
Denise.
respect, Mr. Chairman, I'm just interested in whether or not there's an opportunity for a future discussion on this matter, because there is still some live discussion to have, and whether that's different from whether or not the discussion that was had is accurately reflected, because that's the motion that's been put. Were the minutes an accurate reflection of the discussion that was had? And if so, is so they get accepted and passed, whether or not there's further discussion that that you'd like put on the agenda for a future meeting. I wonder if that's a different point.
Well, I don't know whether it's a different point. I think it's a relevant point. Because I think what Darfield is saying, and Harvey in particular, is saying we're not really getting any comments. We haven't got any time. We're not getting the answers to some of the questions.
So what do you think's missing from the minutes?
No, I don't think anything. It's just perhaps missing from the minutes is that while we're looking for action, when is it actually going to happen? When are the comments going to be answered?
To get very technical, madam, that missing from the minutes is that the chair of the DRA suggested that we could initiate a policy. There was some general discussion, and I'm going from memory from an old guy, and then the movement was that, well, whilst we couldn't actually do a policy, we could engage with the community, and as Councillor Glidden has pointed out, we don't need a motion for that. But the more relevant point that I think is missing from the minutes is they're too vague, too general, and that means there's a breakdown in accountability when we're trying to track progress, madam.
So the motion is before you at the present time. Do you wish to any further discussion on it? I'm prepared to put it, and you can either vote it in or out. All right, those in favour of the motion currently before you?
Aye.
Right, okay. I declare the motion lost at this stage. Thank you. The minutes. So anything else in the minutes that anybody, Lydia?
I would just like to note that I left the meeting at 5 p.m.
Correct.
Just after the executive director's report.
Sorry, after?
Just after the executive director's report.
Yes.
I left the meeting.
Yes. But straight away the meeting was basically concluded, so it was okay. But no, it should have been taken note of.
And I just wanted to note that Harvey from the chairman of the DRA had brought up the inflation rate component of the current rates, and that I was not able to get a direct answer from council for that. And so I would expect that to be an action or a follow-up in either the executive director's report or in the action table.
I've spoken to Steve on that matter this morning. I'd already spoken to him in regards after our last meeting, and at this stage he will be looking into it because they're doing all the budgets currently at the present time, and he said at this stage it would be too early to make an announcement. So I agree with what you're saying, Lydia.
So should that just sit in the action table so it is not lost in translation?
No, but that was what I was going to report to when we get to that part of the agenda.
Okay.
All right. After the minutes, we immediately go to the action table.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Right. So if there's no further discussion, I will put the motion of the minutes. All in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Sorry?
Can it be noted that I abstain
From the minutes?
from the motion.
All right. Okay. So you abstained on the principle that you felt the minutes weren't correct. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is the action table. And you'll see that the first one on that is the fact that it was left to me to look at the item that the DRA chairman brought up about the rates decrease in line with inflation. I've already taken that up with our chief executive, with our Stephen, and he is at this stage, he can't answer that particular question. And this carries on, Lydia, from what you've said. Okay. So if we look at the other thing, sister cities, Calvin, is there anything you want to add there?
No, that's the visit to China has been postponed.
correct.
And the Japan one's going ahead, and we have enough representatives going on it. and the board will just be providing some gifts for the people in Japan. So that's all underway.
Right, thank you. Now, submissions from the board have been done. The water done well. While there were 3 submissions in there, unfortunately, Kelvin had the job of actually presenting them all. But I do thank you for that. Is there any comment you want to make, Kelvin, on that?
Only if you're reading somebody else's submission out that you were involved with but not actually written, please, everybody, just take time to read it before you do that.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to prepare, and it would have helped me tremendously. But thank you, John and Bruce, for the opportunity to put that forward. It was an awesome experience.
And I would just comment that we thank you, Kelvin, for stepping into the breach.
I'd like to confirm that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry?
I'd also like to add my thanks for Mr. Payne for stepping in at the last minute.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, just on the action
Sian?
point, the action point is for the local board of Dunwell and the ECAM public transport consultation. The submission's not yet been put through for the public transport consultation. That doesn't close till the 3rd of April.
Correct.
And I'll touch on why the submission is not being put through when I do my report.
Okay, but you'll further elaborate that in your report.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine, Sian. Thank you. Now this next one from Murray, is that part of his?
I've got some.
We've got some answers
from
there.
Murray in
Okay,
his
thank you. Now, have we heard anything from Tim Mason on the roading one, Therese?
I think that's your ways.
I beg your pardon. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to do that now, his report now?
Sarah's waiting, I think, to do the finance.
Oh, is she? Oh, righto. Okay. Right, we'll take yours in a few moments. Right, okay, move on. Finance. Sarah, are you with us?
I am.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here to present the Malvern Community Board Finance Report for the period ended the 28th of February 2025. The MCB is in a year-to-date deficit of $14,254, favourable to budget by $6,618. The year-to-date revenue for the period is $112,744, which is $1,408 below the budgeted revenue. Now, upon investigation, this shortfall is attributed to Malvern Community Board targeted rate, which is 95 properties short on the projected revenue. So consequently, this projected shortfall will continue as an unfavourable variance at year end of approximately $2,375. Year-to-date operating expenses for the period were $53,394, below budgeted expenditure by $8,222. Support charges are on budget. Favourable variances compared with budget are advertising expenses, favourable by $399. Training expenditure, $1,131, favourable to budget. Sister city expenses are favourable due to no spend to date. Members' remuneration is $1,140, favourable to budget. Training and conference expenses are $893, favourable to budget. Vehicle expenses are $5,214, favourable to budget. The unfavourable variances are general expenses, $686 unfavourable to the year-to-date budget. The annual budget for general expenses has now been spent. Refreshments are $573 unfavourable to the year-to-date budget. That concludes the finance report for the period 28th February 2025.
Is there any further comments? Kelvin?
Thank you for that, Sarah. I've just sent you an email, as you will see. I apologise for it being extremely late, as in
Oh,
the
that's
last.
our budget.
Pardon?
That's our budget.
No, this is my comments on
Oh, I beg your pardon.
this report.
Okay, carry on.
I've apologised for it being so late, Sarah, last minute. I'd like to propose that I do an alternative report, which is based on the same numbers. So, have I got a proposed motion for that, Bruce?
No, not yet at
No,
this
okay.
stage.
Can I ask Sarah something?
Yes, by Denise.
Sarah, just to conclude that, overall, the Melbourne Community Board didn't get the revenue that they had expected because of there being less properties rated. And what's the overall position in regards to their expenditure? Is that you've identified some things as favourable, some things as unfavourable. So what is your conclusion in terms of the expenditure, just overall?
Okay, year-to-date expenditure is $8,222 favourable, and so the year-to-date surplus deficit is favourable by $6,618. So just to explain a bit further, the rating, the targeted rate is on the Malvern ward for the community board. The rates are struck on the 1st of July each year. So any new properties that come on board after the 1st of July are only charged the targeted rate at the 1st of July the following year. So that's how it's led to the 95 predicted properties being short this year.
There's a comment on that in the executive director
Okay,
report.
right, okay. Kelvin.
Could I just clarify that, Sarah? So the shortfall is not because of people not paying the rates, it's because of properties not being rated for that targeted rate.
Correct.
Is that correct? On the basis of the original budget wasn't quite right.
The original budget contains a projection of properties that are currently within the Malvern ward and a projection of new properties that will come on board during the year. So as you can appreciate, the budgets are set in advance, and this was the projection of how many properties will be rated as of the 1st of July. So yes, it's short by the projection by 95 properties.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Thank you. I would have understood that much easier, excuse me, if it had said that our projection for the properties to be included in the targeted rate required an adjustment. And I think that's a fairly neutral way of putting it. That leads me on to my next question, Mr. Chair. From my limited understanding of budgets, because I'm financially not very bright, that they're meant to be a living document, and there's a provision in the accounting and financial standards, whatever they're called, to actually revise and update so that when the board is presented with information, it's presented with the most current information, because from time to time amendments to the budget are proposed and approved or not. And also, I think the board has been asking, and I would have really appreciated several months ago, having it in plain, simple English so that it could be more easily understood.
Do you wish to make a comment on that, Sarah?
John, I think what you're referring to is a forecast. So a forecast can change month on month with what has happened and what you're forecasting to happen. A budget is set once a year for the year, and a budget does not tend to change unless there has been a motion approved to change budgets.
John?
Thank you. So the forecast is to the 1st of July, when we're looking ahead this year, 1st of July 2025. So sometime around about August or September, we will know whether that forecast is accurate. So am I reading you right, that the board can at that stage move a motion that the budget be amended to better align with the actuality of the forecast?
That should be allowed to happen.
Budgets are set annually and they are published. For example, this budget has been published in the LTP document, so it won't be changed. The forecast can be changed.
Just if I may answer that too, as I understand, Sarah, the proposed budget takes effect from the 1st of July until the end of our term. The current budget goes up until the 1st of July or the 30th of June this year. Okay, if there's anomalies within that, before we take effect of the budget as of the 1st of July, we can alter some of those amounts.
No, the budget will be set. Budgets are always a point in time and there will always be variances, which is why we report on the variances to budget. What we can do is what's a revised budget, which is called a forecast.
Yep. Because it makes no difference to the rating. It makes no difference at all. We've got a pot of money which is obtained through the rates, and we try to analyse that pot of money as best as we see what it should be spent on. Then that's why currently we've got unders and overs, which you've already given to us. But the fact is, we haven't spent the money that has been collected from rates. We've still got a surplus. So it's, I think that's what we're sort of saying. In our proposed budget for next year, which Calvin has done a lot of work on, the board has done a lot of work, there may be, again, different figures to what was in last year's budget. Because we've had the experience now where we've drawn on certain ones and we've overspent. But now the money is still there. We've still got a surplus. And I think in Stephen's report, there'll be further comment on that in his report of the money that we've got there currently. So I won't get into that at this stage with you, Sarah, because I think it'll be more explained once once Denise presents Stephen's report. Sian.
Can we just also make note that this budget was put together not by us, and potentially based on the previous year, I'm not too sure, which is why there might be variances because we didn't have input into this budget.
Okay, is there any further questions? John?
Yeah. Moving on to the thing for the community board for the month ended February, which has got month February and goes through to last year actuals. The revenue, there's provision for sale of Malvern history. I gather that is, in my simplistic terms, an asset. How many of those items do we have available for sale?
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that. I'm unaware of anything for sale as such. There's nothing in the budget, as you can see.
My understanding is, and again, I'm venturing into virgin territory, that in relation to the budget, there's a profit and loss and there's a balance sheet. And my understanding is that if we're going to get revenue from the sale of Malvern history, which I'm assuming is a book, but it could well be a video or something else,
No, it's a book.
that there would be physically X number of books that would be listed in the balance sheet as an asset. So when we're looking to next year to expect how much money can we get from the sale of whatever it is, Malvern history. I'm just asking how many items are there that can be sold, and therefore how much income can we expect we may get if all goes well?
I think in defence of Sarah, you may have the answer, but as I understand, this goes back considerable years when this book was produced. And now, obviously, I think the question is to be asked: are there any values in those books, or are there not? In other words, should it be wiped off? It shouldn't be even appearing on the balance sheet because it appears currently as an asset. The question is being correctly asked: what value are those books worth? Is it an item, or do we write it off completely? That would be correct, John. That's what you're basically asking. So,
Correct.
Sarah,
Yeah.
I don't expect you to have the answer for that now, but I think it's something that we should look at. And from the financial point, is there money? Is it worth anything, or is it not?
Okay,
So,
I will look into that. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Are you happy to look into that
Yes.
at this stage? Thank you.
Yes,
Is there any other further
I am.
discussion? Calvin, is there anything else you want to bring up?
I'd just like to put forward an alternative report at the appropriate time on the 24-25 statement.
You want to do it? Should we do that now or not? Or is it today? That should be part of this or not? Or does it come under? It could come up and under Calvin's report. Okay, all right. Okay, Calvin, we can deal with that now. Sian first.
So just before we move on, just note one, I don't know, I feel like we've raised this before, just the text isn't quite right. It says $500 cost granted to the Darfield High School for prize giving costs for frames for MCB award certificates. So those are two totally separate things. So if we could just get the wording sorted on that, that'd be really cool.
Right.
That's on the financial statement, Sarah.
Yep. All right. John.
Just briefly on that, and I will be brief, I promise. Can I please ask that the wording, for example, we've got several entries which I'm happy to discuss offline, but the councillor's pay account coming in under costs of staff employed and advertising expenses, a community board levy. I would just like to see if we can, moving forward, to try and tidy it up so that the budget for whoever's on the board going forward, if there is a board going forward, get some information that they can understand and they can talk intelligently with those who elected them.
Denise?
Sarah, I'm just wondering, in the same way that within the different teams within council, as we move into the next financial year, we can consider whether or not we need to, in the first instance, I'll talk about it from an operational point of view, but the reason I'm raising it is to seek clarification in terms of how it applies for the Malvern Community Board. So if in a team that I'm responsible for, we have put too much money or not enough money into insurance, but we put more money somewhere else, there is an opportunity as we move into the next year's plan to adjust the budget, not the bottom line, but adjust the budget so that it more accurately reflects where we're actually intending to spend the money. There is a question that finance will ask and our legal team will ask, which is, does this affect the level of service that we have promised the community? And as long as we can say, no, not materially, it's just simply getting our budget a bit better so that it more accurately reflects what we're doing. So if I understand correctly, the question is there an opportunity to review the budget with not necessarily, absolutely not increasing the expenditure because that's been set, but to put the different categories so that it's not an unders and overs story. It's a lot more in line with what the Malvern Community Board is anticipating spending.
Correct.
Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible. In fact, we've done some of that already, haven't we, Calvin?
Yes, we have. Yeah, was adjusted and moved some figures around.
Okay.
Yeah, but not increase the overall.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. That's
right.
all it is. Okay, that's great. So what is that what you're presenting,
Yes,
Calvin?
that's what he's doing.
Yeah, a more accurate budget.
Essentially, it is, but it's taking it forward from now, projecting it through to the end of the year, and therefore getting a year variance, which Sarah was talking about variances before. So firstly, thanks, Sean, for spotting those slight inaccuracies in the text. That's awesome. What you've got in front of you is our budget for 24-25, the actual up to the end of February, which means that that's the figures presented by council, and that means we've only got 4 months left on this budget. I've then projected the end of financial year figures. So some budgets will be spending everything, some we won't be spending anymore because we've overspent. Others actually will be saving some money, which is good. We'll be spending under budget. So my comments going through, I'd like to just have very few comments, and that's some real highlights rather than lots of nuts and bolts and detail. Due respect to you, Sarah, that's where the numbers are, but we just need to have some real highlights so the community can pick it up quickly and easily in the public forum when they listen to it. So this is our budget to the 30th of June. There's 4 months left, and I've projected through our year variance. You've quite rightly stated, I've projected the revenue is going to be down by some $2,112. We're on the similar page, I think, Sarah, in terms of the number. I've just made some approximations and projections. By the end of the year, I predict that our operational costs will be underspent by some 6,784, which is a similar number to your numbers at the moment. That will be a surplus because you have to take the 6,084, you have to take 2,112 off it. So we get some surplus of $4,672 will essentially be returned to the surplus. So the surplus will get slightly larger than it was going to. The current situation with the surplus is it's going to be reduced from 88,982, which it was at the beginning of the budget, and down to some 64,543 because we've now added 4,000 odd back to it. So we've actually not expended as much as we thought we would in terms of our operation expenses. SDC has continued to spend the $110,000, the support charges, reliably every month divided by 12 amount. So I've just made the assumption there that will be taken through to 110,108 total at the end of the year. So the reason that the surplus has gone down from 88 to 64 is essentially due to Selwyn District Council support charge. Just to clarify, our budget of operating costs is around the 30,000 every year, and it's, as you know, 23,000 this year, and the remuneration costs are around the 60 or 70,000, and council's cost is around 110,000. So we start off with a 30,000 deficit before we start operating. So that's my summary. I'd like to get us down to a summary there that we're underspending currently, and that we're going to put some money back into surplus, although it's still going to be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you. Sean, do you want to make comment?
Yeah, just a question around the deficit in regards to the support charges. Is that because of the forecast versus the number of rateable properties? being less than what was forecasted. So those 95 properties that aren't being rated.
Yeah, so the budget was made on the basis of 7,876.5 ratepayers. I'm not sure why there was a half there, but that's how it works out. So I'm assuming that figure is now 95 less, Sarah? And that's why the overall numbers come down from 171,000 to somewhere in the region of 169.
Yep.
Is that correct? Yeah. So has that answered your question? It's not to do with the support charges. They've stayed constant. It's to do with the number of rateable properties. Yep.
Any other questions? John?
Can I just clarify? the $25, 95 properties is chicken feed. What we're looking at here is a support charge of 100,000 K, which is enough for a deposit on a very nice house in Selwyn. So I'm just a little confused. I don't actually think the 95 properties that were overestimated in the projections has any real significant substantive effect. That the reason that the figures may indicate the board is running at a deficit is solely due to the 100,000 odd support charge from the council.
I think, Denise, did you want to answer that or not?
I guess it's just the methodology of how
Yeah.
Sarah, I guess it's just the methodology of how support charges are derived.
Correct.
And you may have a comment about whether or not that's just the way it is, or whether there's any changes to any further thinking going on around the methodology to how support charges are derived.
Yeah. I think that's a fair comment, Denise, and this is something that we have always been as a board very conscious of. Are we being charged actuals or are we being charged percentages? And really it's percentages. Kelvin?
Yeah, I've just been reflecting on that point, John, thank you. That 95 properties is around the $2,000. So we're in an operating business situation here. We've lost $2,000 of our revenue, not because it's not actually happened. So you would have thought the parties to the business would be able to come to the party and say, well, 2,000 over 110 is just under 2%, just under 2% of their cost. Maybe we could all look at trying to reduce our costs. Yep. Just not basing it on a 0.42% or whatever basis we're on. But yeah, everybody should come into the business to try and make it as sustainable as possible.
Lydia?
Look, I think this is so great that everyone's very invested in how the money has been spent. And it's fantastic because that's the accountability to our community. I was wondering when we would see back a draft budget for next financial year.
Is Sarah still with us or she disappeared?
Yes, I'm still here. So a draft budget was in the January papers with the so a draft budget, and we've recently received a budget from Mr. John Berry. He's put forward a budget which I understand is not the official one, Kelvin.
No, it's not, because to be fair, Kelvin made an apology. He hasn't, what we sort of had, you got John's, when talking to Stephen on this, he's aware that really the board's budget is yet to come, and now you've actually received that.
Yeah, can I confirm that, Sarah? You literally got it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
On your email. So I apologise profusely, Sarah. Lydia had it about an hour and 20 minutes ago, but she didn't see it, you see. So, and so did the other board members. So I apologise profusely for the late. I have a hard copy here and I'm willing to go through people. It's based on SDC's proposed budget that you sent that was in the January meeting, Sarah. And then we've just put our suggested figures based on Mr. Berry's draft.
Correct.
And confirmed by the rest of the board.
Yep.
So I can review that at any point you want to.
So we may see in April a potential amended draft come back for MCB to approve for the next financial year.
Yep.
May I say that I would like to see in April at the next meeting a proposed budget from the council, and we have real, genuine, legitimate input rather than actually being treated like a preschooler and told, this is your budget, it's in the LTP. We're not having a public consultation. We're telling you what to do.
Denise?
So Sarah, I think that's entirely what you were indicating would happen, that if the Melbourne Community Board is happy with what Kelvin has sent through,
Correct.
and it reconciles with the figures as you see them, that can be reflected in an updated budget for the year commencing 1st of July 2025. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct, but I've literally just opened Calvin's email now, so we haven't had a chance to review it. So can I suggest that we have a workshop perhaps at a later date, rather than go through line by line at this meeting today, that we go through the budget with Calvin and whoever else would like to participate, and also so Steve gets a chance to join us as well.
Yes. Look, we're all happy with that. Okay, so is there any other questions of Sarah? Body? I will in a minute. If there's no other questions, Sarah, I thank you most kindly for it. I'm prepared to move the adoption of the financial report. Is there a seconder? Lydia, thank you. The motion's before you. Everybody in favour? It's very quiet in this room. What's happened? Are you all in favour of the financial report? I just wonder why you're abstaining, because basically we've discussed the report. It's all been agreed. You've had your comments. You've all made your comments. We've got our proposed budget in the hands of the council now. It's a matter that it's all part and parcel of the financial. I just wonder why you're abstaining.
Mr. Chair, with the greatest respect, why I'm abstaining is that over the months, there's been very little changing.
Correct.
They may be technical, but there are errors in how the wording is done. And I don't feel that the financial report as presented today to this committee is a true, transparent and accurate reflection of the financial transactions this board and me being part of the board have approved, and I just don't feel comfortable approving it.
So you're basically saying, even with the questions we've asked, as part of the dissatisfaction of what's been presented to us, are you still not happy that we've already given our opinions, that you're still not happy to move the financial report? It's all part and parcel of it, as I see it.
If somebody was prepared to move that the financial report be
with the additions,
be noted on the basis that the following actions occur by April next month, I will.
Yeah, if you're happy to have, we'll approve the financial report subject to the additions that we've talked about. Kelvin, would you be happy with that?
Yep.
Because I feel otherwise, in actual fact, we've wasted quite a bit of time. We've put our comments forward. We'll council, the financial team have answered those things. They've taken note. I don't see any reason why we can't adopt the financial report that we've discussed. Okay, that's my suggestion. I'm now going to put the motion. All those in favour of the financial report, with everything added to it that we've discussed today, are in favour of the financial report. All in favour? Right, carried. It's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for your participation.
Thank you.
What are we up to now? Executive Director's report.
So, speaking to the Executive Director's report on behalf of Steve, but in the interests of URA getting away, I'm mindful that he's going to speak to the roading program update component of the report. So, if it's okay with you, I'll invite URA to come forward and do that.
Yes, thank you, URA. I appreciate that. I've already welcomed you to the meeting and we look forward to your proposal.
Thank you, Chair Russell. Thank you, board members, and thank you, Councillor Britton. My name is Yu Wei Li, and I'm the Transportation Asset Planning Manager at the Council. And I'm speaking here regarding your request from last meeting on transport programs in the Malvern ward. On behalf of Tim Mason, the Executive Director of Infrastructure and Property. Before that, I'm happy to report that actually I saw a copy of the Malvern history book for sale in the Lincoln Library, and I purchased a copy, so I contributed to the operation budget of this committee. Sorry. Bring up the sharing. That's this. So my presentation is about the 10-year roading works planned for the Malvern ward. So before I get into the details, I would like to give you an overview of transportation works for the whole Southern District.
Thank you. Thank you.
So our transportation program consists of 3 parts. The first part is the continuous program, mostly consisting of the maintenance, operations, and the renewals of our roads. So for this part, in the 24-27 National Land Transport Program period, we have on average $26 million per year allocated and approved for activities within the district. And in addition to that, so that $26 million is partly subsidized by NZTA. On top of that, there is also a $1 million per year allocated solely using council funds to do catch-up renewals, because in the previous 10 years, the council kind of took an approach of subsidizing maintenance at the expense of renewals. Subsequently, we lagged behind on renewals. So that's why there is this additional $1 million per year renewal funding as well. The next part is major emergency works. Over the 21 to 24 period, the council spent $40 million on major emergency works after increment adverse weather conditions. And in preparation for that, starting 2024, council budgeted $1 million per year in terms of the council's co-share. So NZTA fund a portion of that emergency works. Still, council needs to put up money with that. So for this year, the weather has been nice. It has been very few emergency works. So what the intention is that the money left over in this $1 million will carry forward into the next year. So if next year we have a major event, we have money to deal with that situation. So a lot of that emergency works actually happens in the Malvern ward. So the third part of Council's transportation program is improvements, the new things to deal with growth. So in this part, initially Council has like a $34 million program on average over 10 years in the current LTP. However, because of the decisions by NZTA regarding their lack of co-funding, the Council has reduced the program within next 3 years to $22 million per year. So first of all, I'm happy to report to you that for the maintenance operations and the renewal part of Council's transportation activities, Council actually has a big funding boost in 24 to 27 compared to the previous 3-year period. It's like a 55% increase. Because this is partly because the network grows, but also partly because of the cost increases on the same kind of activities, basically inflation, construction cost increase over the past 3 or 4 years. And with this funding, the Council is able to deliver on our targets, important targets. For example, our resale targets per year is about 5% of our sealed road network. Our sealed road network is about 1,600 kilometers in the district. So 5% of that would be 80 kilometers per year. So starting fiscal year 23-24, we are meeting that target, and we have done very well this year as well. And within this 3-year period, 24 to 27, White Cliffs Bridge in Malvern Ward is funded. So in fiscal year 25-26, we're going to do the design, and in 26-27, we're going to do the delivery, basically replacing that bridge. So $4 million is allocated to that.
Is this funding based on just a percentage increase? It's like with inflation, or is it, are these the additional costs that you're likely to incur?
There are a lot of factors involved in analyzing how much we need, subsequently submitting the funding request to NZTA. So we need to present evidence. So this evidence consists of the construction cost increase, but also consists of the district growth. For example, how many subdivisions are there? So a lot of factors.
Thank you. Thank you.
So regarding the road in renewal works, so a big part of the maintenance operations renewal program is renewal works. In terms of road rehabilitation, for the district, we are planning about 10 kilometers of pavement rehabilitation every year. And as you can see here, tentatively 12 kilometers of rehabs is programmed for the Malvern Ward. And as mentioned earlier, the district is planning 80 kilometers per year in reseals, that is surfacing, chip seal resurfacing. So 220 kilometers in the 3-year total, and 112 kilometers of that would be in Malvern. So next, I'm going to tell you about capital expenditures or improvement projects. So first of all, where to find the detailed information. So this detailed information is provided in the LTP consultation process. Somehow it is buried on Council's website, but if you go to LTP consultation and it goes to the bottom of that page. It shows you the activity management plans in various areas: water, community facilities, and transportation. So if you click on that link called Transport CAPEX full list, that would give you a full list of projects, individual projects for the district with brief description, when will it happen, and what's the associated budget. So that's a good source of information. And really what that was the list at the consultation stage. Then subsequently, there are 3 major pieces of changes. So first is, say, council's deliberation. Council's deliberation, during that council deliberation, the only significant change was the removal of the Alpine to Sea Cycleway project, stage 2. So that's a multi-million-dollar project, removing the second stage of the LTP list. The first stage, mostly happening in Malvern, $10 million remains. And the second change does not really relates to Malvern. That's the through the LTP consultation process, there is a significant activity the community decided. So based on that input, the council removed Lincoln Park and Ride from the LTP. So that's the second change. The third package of change is really significant, is due to the NZTA lack of co-funding. That decision came in, say, around September and October last year, where the council went through a reprioritization process. A lot of the projects got pushed out of the 3-year period, as you will see in the next slides I will present. So I have included here 2 slides. Those are essentially the same as from the council meeting agenda of November 13th. So if you go to that meeting agenda, you will find exactly the same list. What I'm showing here is just for your convenience, what are the projects that are in the Malvern area. So the green ones are the ones in the Malvern area, and the yellow ones are the ones that are across district, but will have some activities in Malvern. So we are happy to report that on this list, the Wyman Gorge Guardrail Stage 2 have been completed. The Whedon's Ross Seal Widening Stage 2 has been completed as well, due to programming reasons. And we're going to start on the Hoskins Road widening as well as intersection improvement next year.
Hoskins Road, is that from State Highway 73 right through?
Not right through, portions. So
they're just portions?
Yes, just portions.
The main one is that, and Kelvin might like to comment, the main one is where the cycle track is as part of the thing. I mean, you've got very narrow lines. Like
right.
If 2 trucks were passing each other, they would basically wipe out the cyclists on the cycle track. So how are you going to do that without increasing the actual width of the, you've got to increase the road to give a widening. Is it on the other side, you taking the land that side rather than the cycle track side?
Oh, we're not going to destroy the cycle track that we just built. We're going to.
That's what I'm asking.
No.
Yeah, so it's mainly will be a wind. It'll be on the left-hand side coming into Ross.
Right.
That's where your widening will take place.
Yes, we'll be widening, and also we're going to achieve value for money by doing rehabilitation of existing pavement at the same time.
Yep. Thank you.
Could I just ask a question on that one? Are you generally speaking going to go from Rolleston out or from the highway in? Which?
Generally speaking, is from Rolleston out.
Okay.
So there are stage 1 and the stage 2 of this project. So the exactly from where to where is, yeah. Okay. So minor ones here are like say Castle Hill, Dark Sky, 50,000, and district township signage implementation. We contributed $6,000 to Springfield Community Association for the signs. So looking beyond the 3-year period, so the long-term plan is for 10 years, but every 3 years we revisit. So what's in 24 to 27 is actually committed, and we are looking at delivery. The projects beyond 27, that is in 27, 24, are likely to go through another round of reshuffling, cost estimation, and prioritization in the next LTP round. So what's presented here are just an indication. And also, I would like to bring up the matter of rail crossing. As you can see, a lot of the level crossings are listed here. This was probably leftovers from the previous LTP period. And they were estimated at cost like say 300,000 a piece. Really, by what we estimate now through interaction with Kiwi Rail, those are likely to be not realistic. So the cost for level crossing upgrade is likely to be much, much higher. At last, if you're concerned.
Just a moment. John, you want to ask a relevant question here?
Thank you. Just the Alpine to Sea trail stage 1 has got a little indicator that there may be a comment.
Oh, that's my the comments from my spreadsheet. Probably taking some notes, but that's I don't even remember that comment. I can definitely find it out for you.
No, that's okay. Yeah. I was just wondering if it was a relevant comment. That's all right.
No, that's but I the right. In 24 to 27 LTP, 24 to 34 LTP, this is a $10 million project. But if you go back to the 21 to 31 LTP, you would find a lot of individual cycleway projects in there. This is really the repackaging of that. So the individual pieces, you would be able to find it in the 21 to 31 list. Lastly, if you are interested in roadworks and closures closer to the time of this activity happening, then there are a few resources listed here. So in terms of the council's website, in terms of the council's GIS layers, and also if you want to just scan a QR code and that will take you to the maintenance work taking place in the district. Thank you.
Thank you most sincerely. Is there any questions from board members? Calvin?
Yeah, I got one comment, which is I'm quite shocked by the large percentage that pothole prevention takes of the budget. I'm not surprised. I'm actually shocked because it was coming up at 55 million or something, which is good to see that we're doing it, but it's just quite shocking to see the number in one place.
I can probably explain that a little bit. So pothole pothole prevention is really the name that this turn of the government give to a lot of existing activities. Basically, all the road maintenance and the renewals, for example, the road rehabilitation, chip sealing, they are all bundled into this package. So it's just named packaging.
Okay, thank you for that. That's clarified that very well. It's just a name. Yeah. It's just a group.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. The other one was Rolleston flyover, which comes into Malvern. It's our main route in and out of Malvern onto Hoskins Road. Is that a one-off project, or is that all funded in the projections you put here?
So Rolleston flyover, there are two parts. So well, there's NZTA part and there's 7th District Park. So the NZTA part consists of two stages. The first stage is the Downs Crossing and the State Highway 1 roundabout. That's going to start construction in the next financial year. And then there's Rolleston flyover. That is also NZTA solely funded project. But to complement that NZTA project, SDC has a series of local road projects to go with it. Basically, we got partial NZTA co-funding for it as well. So for example, Walkers and the two-chain roundabout and two-chain Jones realignment and two-chain widening. So like even what we recently completed on Levi Road, widening and pavement rehabilitation, as well as the intersection of Levi and Macefield. So those are our local road projects.
Okay, so there's many parts to it.
Many parts.
I was simplifying it a bit, I think. But yeah, and I know the major part of it, which is what we'll all see, is going to be way in the future anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of years. And one final, just thank you for coming along and giving us the information. It's awesome to see it on the screen as well, and also to your department that's dealing with my Snap Send Solves. I've been very dubious about them in the past, and I've decided to go for it. And within days, stop signs are getting put back up, whatever it might be. I've done all sorts of ones lately, and it's actually getting some action, and you're getting feedback as well, which is really good to see. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. I cannot claim the credit. It's our department, the bigger infrastructure and the property group. The people actually doing the work is the operational delivery. I definitely will pass on your compliments to them.
Thank you. It was great for Malvern.
Are there any further comments, Sian?
Thank you, Wawe, for coming. I actually really enjoyed reading through your slides when I was going through the agenda. There's awesome information there. So I posed the question, I think, last meeting. How do we know what's going on in Malvern by way of roadworks and stuff? When people come and talk to us, how do we give them the information? So I think you've absolutely provided that in your links. So thank you very much for that. I just had a question around the Waimak Gorge. You could take this offline if you want. So I guess I've seen there's been an update posted last week on the SDC website in regards to the trial for the joins. A lot of the questions that I've been getting from constituents on both sides of the bridge is who's paying for the work being done on the deck. The reason being the deck resurfacing failed very quickly after the project was finished. And we've been advised multiple times that the contractor will be liable for the cost. So with this new thing that's come in with the new joins that are being trialled, is that cost going to be covered by Selwyn District Council and Waimakiriri, and do we know what that looks like?
So first of all, this project is co-funded by NZTA. So the initial construction cost is subsidized by NZTA at 51%. Then Waimak and SDC each contributes 24.5%. So the question you're asking is related to the remedials. So that is a question that is being explored by the operational delivery team handling the matter. So they are still working on it. They are still working out the issues.
Thank you for that answer. Will that be communicated to the public when that's decided, if it goes over what was originally budgeted for the project?
So my understanding is that the initial construction costed less than the allocation. So say initial allocation is $3 million. So we probably spend 2.3. So there's still a margin to work on that. So, but on the other hand, the issue of remedial work is important, and I definitely would pass on your comments to the operational delivery team and let them provide your feedback on the communications.
Thank you, Wawe. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, again, on behalf of the board, very many thanks for your very well presented report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we'll continue on. Do you want to carry on now, Denise, with your report? Do you want to leave, or you away? You're okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'm just going to continue with the Executive Director's report on behalf of Steve. The first item was electrical vehicle charging stations, and Steve spoke to me about that, and he said this is for the board's information only, as a question was asked following the previous meeting, and so this is his response to that.
Yeah, can I ask a quick question on that one? I note West Melton Community Centre, it's not on that list that he's provided details of. I believe it's a Meridian one, but there's definitely units there,
That's right.
and it's I believe it's on council land.
Yeah.
So
no, it is. It's on council land.
Yeah.
But perhaps as Denise has already explained to me, at this stage, they mightn't realise that Malvern, West Melton is part of Melbourne.
And long may it continue.
So just in terms of addressing that, do you want that to be put into the minutes, the missing information, or is that
I think so.
to be included in the next executive report? How would you want that to be addressed?
Just keep it simple. Maybe it could just be an action point with an answer. That would be really simple and really easy. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the other update that I want to share with you is something that Murray England was working on, and it's relating to Springfield. So he sent through a text, and obviously the content of this can be included in the minutes. So my apologies if I read this out. I don't know a lot about the detail. But
I can make comment on
yeah,
it.
okay. Well, do you want to read it?
No, you're right.
Following the last Working Party meeting in October, staff have undertaken a site visit with the concept designers Tonkin and Taylor to review the previously proposed bypass alignments ahead of the hydraulic modelling updates. Some additional options have also been considered, and these proposed alignments take into account constructability, including earthworks volumes, topography, and impacts for private property owners. The high-level feasibility is now being assessed, and with 3 particular options. 2 are bypass alignments, and 1 relates to a detention dam. The feasibility will consider the high-level risks, opportunities, and costs associated with each of those 3 options. At each location, a wide and shallow cross-section and a narrow and deeper cross-section will be modelled for later discussion with affected landowners. The team also considered that there could be options to undertake some minor storage using the existing topography and a minor embankment to reduce peak outflow in a 1 to 50 year event to around 5 to 7 cubic metres. The volumes are being calculated presently and potential location options being identified for discussion. Tonkin and Taylor are updating the hydraulic model with the latest LiDAR ground level information 2023 before rerunning the model. The model will also be extended south to around McCurdy's Road to assess the downstream benefits of the proposal. A proposed date for the next meeting is Thursday, the 10th of April, 3:30 at Rolleston headquarters. But if that date doesn't work for you, a backup date would be Wednesday, the 9th of April. That's the report. So do you want to speak to that, Mr.
Well,
Chair?
no, it's just really, just to bring you up to date. It's only, there's been a lot of work being done on the background. There's no question about that. There's been a lot of work being done on the background. There's no question about that. But it's just a matter of getting ECAN and Selwyn District Council to be on the same page. So at least now it is happening, and once this has been actioned as of the 9th of April, then we can get back out to the community and tell them what's actually happening. So it's not as I know there's been a lot of wondering what's going on, but it's a matter of trying to get the two organisations combining and looking to what we really want. Lydia, do you want to add anything to that? Because I think, I mean, you've been kept up to date with it all, haven't you? Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Right, carry on, Denise.
So just continuing on, the other item that it was suggested that I should speak to is around the surplus reserve.
Yep.
And at last month's meeting, there was a query raised about the board using those funds. And my understanding or my summation of the information that has been presented in the report is that the targeted rate has been applied across all of the years to keep the rates down. So if Malvern Community Board wanted to adjust how it is being spent, that would need to be consulted on because it's going to have significant impact or an impact on the rates that people are charged, and that's not currently reflected in the long-term plan and would need to be consulted on as part of the next annual plan / long-term plan consultation in 25-26.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unlike my financial inadequacies, I believe I do have a little bit of expertise in the area of rates. And I'm just finding it a little bit, and I know I'm old and senility could be setting in, difficult to understand how when a $25 targeted rate for people within the Malvern ward affects the rates for the rest of Selwyn. And I am aware that the council's clawback of $100,000 from that targeted rate, if it wasn't coming from the Malvern Community Board, if that was reduced to 60,000, that would mean 60,000 would have to come from the rest of the Selwyn district. But I really just can't see a logic, and I think some of the rationale, with the greatest respect, is spurious.
So from your point of view, would you like further clarification? I'm just mindful in terms of an action point that I can't really speak to, John.
Okay, speaking for myself, my board members can come in and contradict me. The work that I've done, I believe that the 100,000, it's historical, it's always been that way, but I'm looking to break the ice and say, let's approach it for the next financial year, starting on the 1st of July, 2025, with a fresh, mature, open, honest and transparent approach, so that what we're saying is, and I know there's no timesheets and there's no time records, I'm not wanting to delve down to that level, but just on the back of an envelope, as the expression goes, it seems to me that the community in Selwyn get a benefit by having the community board. Let's not discuss that. But something like 60,000 as a service charge from the Selwyn District Council seems to be a good negotiating point, and I would like the negotiations to be mature so that I don't hear it's always been done like that. We do it, it's 0.12% of our massive budget that we're continually increasing staff. And I think you know where I'm going, madam.
So just so that I'm absolutely clear, I think your concern is about two matters. One is the fact that you're not satisfied with how it is being explained that the surplus reserve is being applied, and you're wanting to use it as a negotiation tool, which in my mind is saying, well, if that cannot be adjusted, how about council considers the formula or the methodology around its support services? Is that what you're revisiting? You're revisiting that earlier point.
If I could just refine it, and thank you, it's a constructive way forward. That going to the last point first, that the service charge should be around about 60,000. So let's renegotiate that and at a principled basis, focusing on the issues, and then the surplus that's already accumulated. My understanding at the moment is that it's going to go back into the consolidated fund, so to speak. Whereas I think that the people of Malvern have an expectation that, if I understand board member Payne correctly, that we are going to finish the year with funds in the bank. So why shouldn't that money that the ratepayers are paid as a targeted rate be redistributed so that when we hit the 1st of July, we're a clean slate moving forward on a principled basis?
I'm just I'm struggling with how that relates to the surplus reserve fund. I absolutely get your wanting to revisit the conversation around the methodology applied to service charges, but I'm struggling to to understand. So my apologies. What outstanding information you require around the surplus reserve, or is that a separate matter?
Probably a separate matter, madam, and maybe board member Payne can express it more eloquently.
I'm not sure about that, John, but we'll
just answer the question if you can, because Lydia has got a comment to make. So
I've got a comment
I think I think Calvin, you briefly sum up what John has basically said.
Okay, let me just express my understanding of what's in front of us.
That's right.
Is that the rates, the targeted rate is stated here for each year. I'm not sure we've got 25, 26 right, because in our budget that we were given to by council is $26, not 25. Very small point, but it's still $7,000. Or $8,000 if we get more new people. And then it goes up to 27 right through to 34. So my understanding is that the budget goes through to that period. Currently, we basically run each year at a $30,000 loss because that's our operating expenses. Because the rest of our revenue is taken up by a council charge of 110 and roughly remuneration of 60. So that means that the surplus that we're talking about will get consumed at $30,000 a year, roughly speaking, and that will take maybe 3 or 4 years, and then it's zero. Okay, because this year it's going down quite drastically anyway. It's going down to 60 from 90 this year. So we've only got 2 more years and we're down to zero. So I'm a bit confused at how, when that's at zero, and we've got no more people in, well, not drastic amounts of new people in Malvern, we can still keep it at 27 after 2 years. Okay. Yeah, so that's the concern I've got, because that means that obviously at that point, council has decided to be more reasonable with its support cost. So
just to be clear about that, that is specifically a question related to the surplus reserve, and it doesn't make sense in terms of what I have read out to you, that it continues for the whole period of time on the basis of that logic. for want of a better word. Is that right? And so you want a better explanation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we were consuming it at 9,000 a year, then it would be 10 years there. But there's not. There's currently, looking at our current budgets and our previous activity over the last 2 years, I can't see how we can reduce it much less than 30 for operating. Our remuneration stays the same. And if council's 110 stays the same, we, in about 27, 28, we definitely need to increase the targeted rate to be able to provide a community board of 5 people for Malvern.
Lydia?
I just wanted to know that the board is currently in, I guess, maybe for better terms, but a negotiation stage of their budget and how they spend and do that. And that, I think, diving deep into this here isn't going to get the outcome until you've got your draft budget in front of you that you have currently put forward to staff that have received today. So I think that the really pertinent thing to happen is to get that draft budget and to start your negotiation phase with council over what you wish for. It's not really a question, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Not in terms of that executive.
Okay. So would you like to just sum up your report now versus the CEO?
So just the points that I draw to your attention are the presentation that URWA provided you, just an update of the electrical vehicle charging, but noting that West Melton should have been included and wasn't, and that will be a follow-up action point, and that no further action is being taken around the surplus reserve information pending budget negotiations later on, and that may or may not be revisited at that time. And so I take the rest of the report as read on that basis.
Right. Okay, is there any other comments before I move the report given by Denise on behalf of Stephen? I'm going to move that now. Is there a seconder for it? John, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on it? If not, I'll put the motion. Oh, wait a minute. If that, I will put the motion that we accept the report from Denise Kidd. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Move on to the next section, which is
the community grants, and it may be out of order. Where's that got to? Because I've lost track, my fault, but completely, as to when they were going to come back to the board for consideration so they could go to whatever committee for a recommendation. So I would like at some stage an action point of having a little bit of clarity in dates.
We're not on the commissioner's report, we're still on the executive director's report.
Oh, you're going to cover that in your report?
I think so.
Okay, sorry.
yeah, that's that, yeah.
So I was advised that the Malvern Community Board was particularly interested in getting an update on the Anzac Day proceedings in the first instance. And so this report was prepared more than a week ago. And so I've got some more current updates, and my apologies that we were remiss in terms of not excluding West Melton in terms of the Anzac Day, but I do have a verbal update that I can provide to you and some adjustments. So West Melton, which is missing from the report in front of you, takes place at the West Melton School. Some audio has been requested, no traffic management plan, and no councillor has yet confirmed their attendance at that. And this is, if there is a Malvern Community Board rep to attend, that would be good to note from this meeting so that I can pass it on.
I will be there because I've got to be.
That's great.
No, so that's right.
That's good.
No, normally with the council wreath, if they don't turn up, I lay it on behalf of the council.
Okay.
So we require a leaf for that and one from the Residents Association. Plus numerous others that they advise me.
Okay, I'll definitely, I can definitely follow up around if you're doing that on behalf of the council in terms of that wreath. I'm not aware that the West Melton residents one that council generally picks up that cost, but I'll follow
Well,
that
they
up as an
haven't
action
this
point.
time.
So
But
just,
we get no money anyway, that like we used to.
so just in terms of that, going through Springfield, we have Councillor Glidden confirmed to attend.
Yes.
Sheffield, Councillor Glidden, Glen Tunnel, Calvin, Payne, Colgate, nothing, Hororata, no councillor or Malvern Community Board member confirmed.
No, isn't that, what'd you say, Horror?
Hororata, yeah.
No, that's Phil normally, isn't it? Anyway, okay.
Okay, so we don't have
Yeah,
one at this
no,
stage.
we'll check that.
Darfield 1, the small parade, no councillor or community board has been confirmed as above. Darfield, no wreath or councillor required. It's a driving event. And Kirwee, Councillor Glidden and Calvin Payne. And so Arthur's Pass, no councillor is confirmed. And Hawaii Pass, I believe a wreath is being ordered. Yeah. And that's the update.
Yeah.
on
So
the
I'll be there too, but I'm taking part myself.
Sorry, Denise, did you say that there was no one that has put their hand up for the Darfield one yet?
Yes.
Just for everyone's awareness, I will be out of the district on Anzac Day, so I won't be able to do Darfield.
John?
Just as a point of note, and I'm sure that it's already on record, Greendale have made the decision to go for an Anzac parade every second year, so he's aware of that.
Thank you. That's good. So moving on, just there was an update provided around the Malvern Public Artwork Project, just for your information, and there was some information around the different community grants that are coming up that the Malvern Community Board may be aware of. I think that's what Councillor Glidden was referring to, but I don't know that that's actually the point you were making, John. Were you making a different point than when are these different funds falling due?
Sorry, for clarity, yeah, just that we used to have some say in community grants, and it seems to have been 3 months now and nothing's been heard. So I'm wondering just an update of where things are and what's happening.
Yeah, and I think I would have to revisit the policy. I think there may have been some transitional arrangements in place as we moved to get the different community grants ordered differently, but I'd have to go back and revisit that to see whether or not there is that Malvern Community Board is formally engaged in a process.
Yeah, Lydia, do you want to make comment, because you and Bob?
Well, I don't sit on the funding panel anymore.
Oh, don't you?
No, it's Councillor Mugford now. But we had discussed the other day that I think the intention was that the applications were going to be shared with everybody. And so that people could be aware of what was going there, but the people on the funding panel were to make the decision. So in the instance, the information of who has applied and the funds available would be shared with everybody. And if there was something that someone wanted to make a comment on, to add some context or something that might help, would be to the appropriate person on the funding panel.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I think that was at the councillor's discretion, and so therefore it's whether or not that's something that Councillor Mugford is choosing to do or not. But I will follow that up to say whose responsibility it is, because it's a councillor that sits here that's sitting on the grants. But I can't speak to that categorically, but I think that's
Yes, so I think Bob and I had a discussion around it, because he'd asked me if I'd seen them and I said no, and I think they're loaded into Diligent, and I don't know. So they are, but in a very different place.
I've
So they're
requested
in the resource
I
centre.
have requested access to Diligent for the board. We have never had access to Diligent on our term.
So I'll take that as a work on to see, to revisit the policy just to check and to see whether it's the responsibility of the councillor themselves or whether there's some way of that taking place. So I'll follow that up.
Mr. Chair,
John?
just extending your report a little bit, if I may, Madam. The Chief Executive indicated at a prior meeting of the board that we would be kept up to date with work on community halls. And as I believe that's an area of your interest, could you just give us a verbal update, please?
Yeah, and you are going to be, it's on the list of responsibilities in terms of that process. My understanding is that the list of the less utilised halls, it's a lot more complex than it was initially thought in terms of the legal limitations and restrictions in terms of our council's ability to apply it for alternative uses. But from memory, there is a report scheduled to give just an update in June. And so my expectation would be, and it's perfectly reasonable for the Malvern Community Board to expect an update about the same thing at the same time as it goes up to council. So I can follow that up as an action point if you like.
I'm sorry to ask questions in the instance of time, but is the community board in a place to discuss or potentially after this meeting allocation of people to Anzac Day services?
Well, we've got to be out of here by 5:30, but there's no reason why we can't go to the other room. Although Shana, she has to be away as soon as she's given her report, and I'm going to alter the report to be given to Shana the opportunity to speak to. So yeah, we can, if we've got people at time. We'll move on to reports, and I'm going to. Sorry, yeah.
Do you want to move it and accept it?
Oh well, yeah, just your report on that. Yeah. Thank you, John. Seconder, Sean. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Move on to reports, and I'm going to alter those because Sean has to get away. So, Sean, can we have your report first? I think you've circulated it anyway, haven't you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have tabled my report. I won't read through the whole thing, but I will go through it and just surmise. So the very first item on my report is mental health and youth in Malvern. So just very quickly, since the beginning of the school year, I have had 6 parents approach me asking if I know of any counselling services available in Darfield or Malvern. Unfortunately, the one counsellor we did have, she offered Gumboot Friday funding, no longer has service available in Darfield. So this is mainly raising concern around the youth mental health in Malvern, but in New Zealand as a whole. So I've got some statistical data there that I've grabbed from mentalhealth.org.nz. So please have a read through. I will be having further conversations. I'm still waiting for some information to come back from me as well, but I will have a proposal at some point. I just want to point out that in the 2023 annual plan, the community board submitted that a youth centre for Darfield be considered. I believe a feasibility study was done. And in February last year, during our induction, Denise, we spoke about that. We spoke about Heartland funding, and we spoke about the ability for social services in the Malvern area. You had mentioned the possibility or the probability of youth hubs going up across the district. I expressed my view at that time that I didn't believe a youth hub would be a viable option for Malvern. I will say now that I think that we're at a crunch point where we really need to be looking at something. So I guess still having some conversations. I understand that this is mainly a government funding thing. We have social services in Christchurch that would love to come out here, but there's no funding available. So I just wanted to raise the awareness. I'm working on it, and if anyone wants to get involved, you're more than welcome. The Sheffield Memorial Pool, I was privileged to be on the hearing panel. So the hearing was on the Thursday, the 27th of February. We deliberated on Wednesday, the 19th of March. The panel resolved a recommendation to council to return the pool to the community with conditions. It's my understanding the community was very pleased with the outcome of the deliberations, and that council will discuss this recommendation at their council meeting on Wednesday, the 16th of April. Little side note, I attended the Darfield High School Year 11 prize giving because my foster daughter was receiving awards. I just wanted to make note that 2 more of the Malvern Community Board prizes were handed out at that award ceremony. I have been involved in the public transport consultation in February, I think. I submitted to Environment Canterbury on behalf of the Malvern Community Board. At the back of that, they have a consultation process as part of their annual plan for a Darfield to Rolleston service. On the when was it? Beginning of March, beginning of the month, Calvin and I met with Nick Stoneman. Nick Stoneman he sits on the Public Transport Advisory Panel. Out of that, we had a targeted consultation with Environment Canterbury last Friday with Councillor Glidden, myself, Nick Stoneman, and 5 to 6 members from Environment Canterbury. The outcomes from that is Environment Canterbury will be sending a team out to engage with Darfield residents on Tuesday the 25th of March, which is tomorrow, outside of 4 Square between 11:30 and 1:30. Myself and Mr. Polglaze, from the chair of the DRA, will be assisting the team. I have a box of resources if anybody would like any. That includes consultation documents, flyers, and posters. The agreed areas of interest for community engagement are Darfield, Kirwi and West Melton. I have already placed some resources at Darfield Challenge, and I have made contact with Darfield Primary. They will be publishing the poster in their next newsletter. I'll be reaching out to the preschools and the schools in those 3 townships and asking them to also put the poster into their newsletters, and potentially the medical centre as well, just having flyers there. Confirmed that the rate increase for the trial will only apply to residents of the 3 above named townships. Noted that 3 medical centres are due to open in Rolleston this year, so it's important to provide a means of transportation for people wanting access to medical facilities, as the current waitlist for our Darfield Medical Centre is well over 3 years now. Awareness that people in West Melton are missing the Darfield to City bus due to the 46 being full of students by the time it reaches the second stop in West Melton. Environment Canterbury exploring alternative routes for existing services to cater to the residents of West Melton. I will be formulating a submission for the bus service submission post-public engagement. At this stage, I will be proposing the 2 Rolleston runs, a weekend service to either City to Rolleston, and the possibility for an additional Darfield to City run during the weekdays. Exploring options alongside ECAN to ensure savings, and one of the biggest concerns for people are the rate charges, and I just wanted it noted that the increases are required as there's no government funding for public transport. Just one additional thing, sorry, that's not on my report, is around the Darfield jail. So just a quick update in regards to the CCTV cameras. Harvey has met with SDC and they're working together to get those put in where they need to be. And I found somebody who is volunteering time and resource to lay the foundation for the memorial. So that's mine, thank you. I move my report.
Pick it up. Open for discussion. Any questions? I will congratulate you though on this. For the work you do. Thank you. John?
I would endorse that, Sean, that the information that I'm getting is that a lot of people, and it may just be the ones I come into contact with, are balking at the idea of the $138, $179 charge to all ratepayers. And the feedback is the possibility of looking at, instead of having it every day, having it on 2 or 3 days a week. And also, how does it work with the, and my terminology is not very good here, the community bus or the community car that's run by volunteers and subsidised by ECAN for people wanting medical appointments. And I believe, Sian, that at some stage last time you mentioned the idea of a private run shuttle service. Has there been any traction? Because in the people that I've taken the liberty of speaking to, that they were far more in favour of getting some costings and having a shuttle, say, run Tuesdays, which is Gold Card Day for people like me to do shopping, and perhaps on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Due to there being absolutely zero funding from the government is funding one new public transport service in the whole of New Zealand for this long-term plan. So, well, I think, no, it's just for this year at this stage. So the reason for the targeted rate funding is because there is no funding. In regards to Selwyn shuttles, legally, ECAN are not allowed to tap into the shuttle system due to mobility issues, a few other things. I think they said there was more information on the website. Sorry, government criteria. Yeah, so that's outside of their control. And in regards to the vehicle trust, is that what you're talking about? Community vehicle trust. Sorry, I've not spoken of that, but if you'd like me to raise that, I'm happy to. I will say that they did note that this consultation is specifically to discuss services, but it's not the semantics. So they have said that after a decision has been made around the service, then further public consultation will be had around what times and the semantics of it will be developed with the community.
I suppose my concern is that hopefully there's an overwhelming support for the bus, but very few people that I have spoken to have said that they're prepared to pay $138 for a bus service to Wollaston. And I just wonder whether it's all very laudable, but whether ECAN have got it correct in their concept, what they're going out to consult on.
Yep.
And also the feedback that I've got from my community engagement is that if the shuttle service was able to run, they would prefer on the times that they used it to pay for that rather than a bus service they may never use.
Look, we're just going to have to curtail some of this. Either that will move into another room, because at this stage we are over our time limit. And again, this is something that we've discussed before. We started an hour earlier today, but we've had a very constructive meeting and we've had a lot of reports. But I'm conscious of the fact that this room is now booked. We've got a assistant doing all the ITT work. So I'm looking for some guidance.
I would move that we move into another room, because I find it unacceptable to have our democratic discussions cut short.
I appreciate that, John. I really appreciate that. But it's again something we're getting more and more work to do, and that's what we're here for.
We've got a bit of an issue here then, Bruce, because the IT and everything is set up in this room.
Yes, I know, but we'll just have to move next door without it. Hey? No.
Yeah. That's
the rest of our meeting. The rest of our meeting will not be open to the public at this stage.
It needs to be recorded, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, well,
No. I'm just the logistics of it just concern me. Yeah. We'll do it if we can, but
I would take the liberty of suggesting that I think under the extraordinary circumstances whereby the decision was made without our consultation, that we can probably move into the other room, continue the meeting and suspend the live transmission, because it's better to continue with a meeting than to terminate a meeting prematurely for
Okay.
democracy.
And I accept that.
Thank you.